our children were born, they depended on us for everything. Their very lives depended on us. They were dependent completely on us. And then as they grew, they got more independent, and eventually were able to move out, and hopefully we prepared them properly to face the world and go out and start their own families. And that first thing was that first part of when kids were born, that was a new season for us. It's like, this was scary. We were learning things, and now, as empty nesters, it's another new season, and we're trying to learn, what does this mean? What does this look like for our future? How do we go from here as empty nesters? And over the years, we've done a lot of traveling, and one of the places we've traveled to a lot is Florida. And my wife really likes the beach. She says, I want to live by the beach. I want to live there where I can get up and walk on the beach and have my coffee on the porch and look at the sunrise over the beach, over the ocean. That's what I want to do. Yeah, that would be great. It's kind of expensive though. I'm not sure. We can dream for that. That would be good. And she said that many times over the course of as our kids grew up. She's reemphasized that. In 2012, I started a little sideline business. They use the chicken entrepreneur principle. Oh, that's a whole nother speech. But I started a business on the side, and so that was in 2012. And my wife, she says, you know, we need to have a plan to move to Florida. I've been saying this for all these years, and we need to move to Florida. We're on the 5-year plan to move to Florida. So we need to start working on that. Okay, I just started a business. I don't know what that's going to look like in 5 years, but okay, we'll see what happens. Then in 2017, you can do the math. We're not getting any closer to Florida. We need to move to Florida. We need to make plans. Yeah, okay, what do you want to do? If we don't plan a trip, then we're not going to go. We're not going to get there. We're not going to move. I've been looking at places in Jacksonville, and we've been looking at places. I've been looking at jobs, and there's things. We can do this. Okay, you're kind of scaring me. Because I got a job, I got a business that owns me. I don't own the business, so it's hard for me to just drop that. I can't do that so easy. Well, there's jobs there that I can do, and you can fix phones anywhere, so you can just move your business. It's not quite that easy, but let's go check some things out. But I just had to say it. So I came right out and said it. I can't see us living in Florida. I don't like Florida.
Ooh.
Oh, this is what you're doing to me. Oh. But it's so crowded, and it's expensive, and I don't like Florida. How about farther north? How about Hilton Head? We both like Hilton Head. We've been there. We've seen that. Okay, book the trip. Let's do it. So we booked a trip last Thanksgiving. We contacted a realtor. We booked a condo. We took a week off. We went to Hilton Head, and we looked at condos. We finally found one that we thought would work. This is going to be so fun. This is the one, we could live here part-time until we get ready to move. Yeah, I agree. This would be good. We can get this. We can buy this, and we can rent it out in between, and then as we travel here, we can start to learn this and work toward living here. Well, when we travel, I like to go visit Toastmasters, so we went to a Toastmaster meeting that night. It was an hour away. I didn't realize how far it was. And we got to talk about it. I'm so excited. This is going to be fun. We're gonna make this offer tomorrow, and we can start coming and visiting here on my days off. She's a teacher, so I can take my summers and we can just come and visit here. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to this. This is gonna be fun. And then it changed. We went to the meeting. We had the meeting. And on the drive back, we had another hour to talk about it. What are you thinking? Well, I want more than this. I want to see more than this. If we buy this, this is where we're spending all our vacations. This is where we're going to be all the time. I want to see more. I want to travel to other places too. I agree. I'd like to see some other places too. There's lots of places in the country to go see, and I want to go see those too. So things had changed. We were on the cusp of making an offer and getting a place where we could stay and start to visit there and eventually move there. Start to visit, meet people and make connections there. Part of my problem was losing connections we have here. So that was hard, but it's exciting to make new connections too. And as this whole thing transferred, I realized that getting right on the edge, right there on the edge of making this decision to go forward with this kind of a move forward in our empty nester season, I realized that there is more to it than that. It's not just let's move to the beach, because you don't have those same connections. And so my proposal, and I think my wife's on board. When we got back from Hilton Head, she started sending me more listings for places to buy. They were all in Pittsburgh. And so we're actually now come back from that, and we're making this is our home base. My proposal is, let's make this our home base. Instead of spending money on a condo, let's use that same money to go travel and see places and get my business organized so that we can have more freedom, so that I own the business then instead of it owning me, and we can start to do more as a couple rather than just sitting there. What are we going to do tonight? I don't know, whatever you want to do. We got no kids and no dogs. So that's my proposal. Let's make this our home base. We got 3 kids, 3 grandkids, and 2 more on the way here in Pittsburgh. This is our home base. And I think it still may change, but I think that's kind of where we're moving. So thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Good job.
Thank you.
And you're still very much too young to be an empty nester. Highly impressed with that. Good speech. Okay, our speaker number 2 is Mr. Dick Horton. And Dick is working on his Advanced Communicator Gold Certificate. Today is his 3rd of 7 speeches of the Successful Leadership Series Manual. Completion of this manual will complete his final step of his DTM requirements. The title of today's speech is The Importance of Goal Setting. I'm looking forward to hearing that. The objectives of today's speech is to discuss the fundamentals of goal setting and to discuss the relevance of goal setting in relation to a vision, mission, values, and performance measures. The length of the speech will be 13 to 15 minutes. Please welcome Mr. Dick Horton.
Highly unusual that I would use this podium. However, keep in mind this is not a typical presentation. This is intended to be a workshop. For those of you who did not bring your manuals that I passed out last week, well, okay. Some of you did, and thank you very much. So keep in mind, Mr. Evaluator, that this is a workshop where we would be doing things far more differently than we are today. Have you sat in on a meeting lately when the chairperson walks in and says, well, I tell you what, I'm glad we're coming together today. We need to set some goals about how to increase our membership or to find a whole new direction for our lives, or whatever the meeting purpose might be. But have you sat down on a meeting where someone says, hey, let's go, let's get to working this out? My main thought for today that I hope you'll just keep with you, and I've got a handout that I'll leave you with later, but that I can't imagine any successful meeting that starts with that thought in mind, is what can we do to move forward with this club membership thing that we've got here at Toastmasters? And I'll tell you why that won't work pretty soon. Now then, to set the stage for the importance of goal setting, I have a couple of handouts here that are directly from the manual. So here's page 1, and here's page 2. And I'll just go over those with you, and again, I didn't make it for myself, I'm sorry. So at the end, I'll get one. There's 2 different ones here.
Oh, okay.
If in fact this was our workshop, we would be going over the data on these pages, and you would be recording it in your workbook. And I'm just going to read through that briefly here so that you get the idea. But a goal starts with, and you'll see right on your first page here of the handout, it starts with to followed by a verb. Our goal is to take some action steps toward increasing membership. It starts with, our goal is always to. Our goal is to do something, to do something. It gives a desired result that you wish to achieve. It includes a target date. It is measurable. It gives a cost. Now I'm just going right down our pages here. It relates to needs, folks, wants, and desires. It's realistic, understandable, achievable. It tells what and when, but not why and how. Again, it's an action statement, and it is communicated verbally and in writing. One more handout for your folder is true of goals. When you're in your next meeting and you're talking about goal setting, these components here, these elements here have to be present. I'll let you get your hand out. Therefore, but if your goal isn't SMART, and by the way, this has been around for decades. This is not new information that I created for today's purposes, but it has to be SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Just pick realistic, for example. Why would you have an unrealistic goal? Actually, Ken, I was working probably 2 years ago now with a Chamber of Commerce committee on a goal-setting exercise, and I pulled out a matrix that I've developed in my own practice. And in terms of being realistic, in terms of my matrix, one of the boxes on the matrix was, do we have any control over this? We may want to be the best Chamber of Commerce in the world, and there's certain things we want to do to become that. But if we don't have any control over the kinds of things we're saying we'd like to do, then it's not realistic, and so mark that off of the list. And that was a very powerful tool. You weren't there, I don't think, that night, Devin, but I know Blake was for sure. So we can bring it close to home and just use these kind of components to say, listen, if it's not realistic, why are we wasting our time talking about it? Mark it off the list so it can be very powerful. And I'll share with you someday, if you ever want up my matrix, that that's kind of work you're exactly doing now, Devin, in particular, but since you're at the chamber, I thought I'd kind of mention that, if you will. So then, what I really then want to talk about is my final handout and just try to tie some things together. Here's some work I did for the parish of East Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I just want to highlight, if we were a true workshop, I wouldn't be doing all this scrambling around here. I would have everything in nice one place and we would have been really set up. But if you'll take a look at this document that I passed around, you'll notice that goals are midway down on the page, and there's a reason for that, and what I mentioned earlier. If I come into a meeting and it's Brock Directories, for example, and Ken called us in for a meeting and we start talking about goals, I'd say, well, Ken, I don't know how to participate in the meeting. Where are we trying to go? I like to call it our preferred future. You could call it vision or a mission statement. A lot of people get those confused, and that's not today's topic. But where are we trying to go? If we don't know where we're going, then anything we do is fine. If we don't have a vision, we can do anything we want because we don't know where we're going anyway. So we have to have that vision. I use that all the time with the Downtown Advisory Board, for example. We're in there selecting trash cans and bike racks, and we're talking about murals on walls. I think, well, I don't know. It might be a good idea, but I don't know what we're trying to become. What are we trying to become in Pittsburgh in our downtown shopping district? So are those the right bike racks? Are those the right trash containers? Are those the right murals? Are those the right color schemes? Whatever. I don't know, because I don't know where we're trying to go. And I say that practically at every meeting. They're going to kick me out one of these days. And I'm not a member of the committee anyway. I just show up because I want to. So really my main message today, and I think Toastmasters International kind of misses it in their training as a workshop, and I'll just say that right up front, but I think that you have to have in mind, yes, sure, goals are extremely important. If not, what are we doing anyway? But they have to be linked to a bigger picture, and that's why I provided this graphic for you, is that in East Baton Rouge, you can see we got our vision and our mission. Where do you go when the going gets tough? Well, you better have some strong core values that you can fall back on. When you've got to make those tough decisions, like in Toastmasters, if we want to kick President Don out of office, we better have some core values about what we feel strongly about. And maybe Don's spending too much time worrying about the weather and he's distracted from his presidential responsibilities, and we've got to boot him out. Well, our core values say you need to be focused on us more. So that's a huge component. But then we get to goals. Okay, then. Our goals are to provide a safe, connected park system, to provide accessibility, et cetera, in this particular list. And then, how do we know how well we're doing? Well, we better have some performance measures. We better hold ourselves accountable like we're doing now at the end of our meetings. Our goal is to become the best Guerrilla Toastmasters Club we can possibly be. Well, how do we know if we're getting there? And that's now why we're measuring ourselves at the end of the meetings by taking that count from 0 to 10. So if we were, there I go, he's going to mark it down. Anyway, that's my story. Goals are important, but my message is that they're far more important and helpful if they're linked to this overall planning process, which I've placed before you today. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is our table topics master, who will introduce Mr. Devin Gorman to be our table. This is our most interesting part of the meeting. Devin, leave it up to you.
I've done this one time before, and I thought we had fun with it, so we're going to try it again. It's a sort of charade / table topics. I don't know, Dick or Nancy, if you were here, or Dawn, the last time we did this, but we'll work in pairs. Hopefully we have 8 minutes to do this. It's just kind of a fun deal, but it's a unique take on speaking off the cuff about something randomly that's kind of difficult. So we'll need pairs to start off, and since each of you guys' speeches, we'll leave that out. Let's just, Nancy and Seth, if you want to come up here, and you'll work together So I'm going to give one of you a word, and with your eyes closed, we'll need to use the board. You're going to draw what I tell you, and then the other person has to answer and sort of describe what is seen. So as a type of charades, it's kind of difficult because you may or may not know what the other person has drawn. So Nancy, we'll have you draw first, and then we'll give you your sort of instructions. So this is what you were drawing with your eyes closed.
Okay.
So let's take a second to
Now,
do
what does
that.
Seth have to, does Seth keep his eyes closed, or?
No, Seth doesn't know what
The word.
Nancy's going to draw. So Nancy, with her eyes closed, will draw this, and then Seth, you're going to tell us why this is your favorite sport.
Okay.
So a little easier than last time, just for the sake of being in. You tell us why this is your favorite sport.
Are her eyes closed?
Mhm.
I particularly like this sport because it's a team sport that you can really get a lot of team building exercises out of. You have to work together to put the ball in a hoop, and you have to outwit the other team's best defenses. And the same people who are on the offense are also the defense, so you are a multi-utility player. I really like this sport because it brings coaches and players together in a unique way that you don't find in other sports. And as an indoor venue, I really like it because then it's not weather dependent, so it can be 30 below or 100 degrees outside, and I still get to have my snacks and stuff just fine in the bleachers. Other reasons that I really particularly like this sport are that it has some amount of historical significance for me because my family members have played it often in the past. That's my reasons for liking what I think is a basketball.
I drew the wrong one.
We're looking for soccer. You did a very nice job generically about a sport involving a ball. So very good on that end. So you guys go stand up here. Now we're reversing here. So Seth, with your eyes closed, you are drawing this.
Okay.
And Nancy, you're going to tell us why this is your favorite animal. Favorite animal. Favorite animal.
From the image I see on the board, I think that's a dog. I'll go with a dog. I'll go with a dog. And I'll say a dog. I don't. Growing up, we did have dogs, but it was for security purposes. Coming to America, that was the first time that I saw a dog in the house. We used to keep them outside, we'd feed them outside, and the dogs would come and go, however how many times they wanted to come and go. So coming here in America, I've seen a different way of having a dog. A dog can be used as for security purposes, but also for emotional need too. Because I remembered when we all went to school, my mom was left home by herself, and we had a cat. And Mom loved that cat so much. So I can see the connection between a dog and a cat. So coming here, I've learned that pets can be all kinds of animals, and dog is one of them. I don't have a dog myself. From the people that have dogs I've had, it's like having a kid. And since I don't have kids, I'm like, I don't have a dog because that would be more responsibility. But it's something that I wouldn't mind having a dog in the future. So for now, I believe that's a dog, and that's why I like to have a dog one day.
The dog works. Part of the fun of this.
A dog would be happy to see you after being in a truck.
Okay, since you're recording, we'll leave you alone. Ariel and Ken, if you would like to participate, we'll have you both do one, and then we will wrap up table topics. So if you two want to come up here, We'll do the same thing, just with different pictures and different themes.
Hope you're a good artist there.
Ken, we'll have you draw first if you would like. So,
I am Kim.
Ken, you're going to be drawing this, or some version of that,
Okay, with my eyes closed.
with your eyes closed.
I can do it with my eyes open.
It's not one of the easier ones, but Ariel's going to describe this as one of her favorite hobbies or activities to do.
Okay.
That's pretty darn good.
That's a cat.
One of your favorite hobbies or activities to do.
Me and Dicey on the board is a sailboat. I have never been on a sailboat proper, but I have been on several boats from my time in Alaska. The main boat that I was on is a big passenger ferry, not the giant ones that you put cars on, but just like a passenger one for people to ferry back and forth from Homer across Kachemak Bay to Seldovia where I lived. And one of my favorite things, or one reason why I love to be on a boat on the water, is to see nature and wildlife and animals. And one particular event that happened was back in summer of 2016, whenever we were first crossing from Homer to Seldovia. The humpback whales were back. We're up north for the summertime, and they were putting on quite the show. And so we got to see several of them breaching, so leaping out of the water and splashing down. But one in particular seemed pretty interested in our boat and would like circle. So we were kind of stuck on the bay because you're supposed to stop and wait for the whales to pass so that you don't run them over and hurt them. So we were kind of, it took us an extra half hour to get where we were going because this whale would not leave us alone. And he or she would like come up and like roll over and look up at the deck on deck. And my oldest was about 18 months old at the time. And so I was holding him and we would watch the whale come and look up at us and go back down and then it would circle back around the boat and we'd go and stop and go and stop. So I actually in the future, whenever I'm an empty nester as well, hope to enjoy some time on the water and seeing some more whales.
Sailing, so nice work there. So Ken, this one will be for you, Ariel, drawing with your eyes closed. And this is what you were drawing. And Ken, you're going to tell us why this is your favorite food.
Favorite food, okay.
You guys do pretty well drawing. You do better than I do with my eyes open. So nice work. Your favorite food, Ken.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ariel. That's definitely a picture of my favorite food. And it is clearly a pork chop that has been sliced like the one I had last night. That's presented with mashed potatoes all around it. And it was just wonderful. And although the pork chop itself was not as hot as I would like it to have been, it was well done. It was juicy, and the potatoes under it were nice and warm. So I'm assuming that's the mashed potatoes on the underside. And that, now on the other hand, my wife sat beside me and had my very least favorite food, which is Brussels sprouts. And that could potentially, with a little imagination, be a Brussels sprout. And just the smell of the Brussels sprout minimized the enjoyment of the pork chop.
Yeah.
Well, I moved over a little ways and enjoyed my pork chop. Ariel, thank you very much for the drawing.
Ariel, you were
That'd be fun.
Very good. It's kind of a lighthearted table talk. Kim, you guys step here. I'll turn it back over to you as Toastmaster. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I am.
Okay.
So I'll do it from down here. I need to hear my notes.
Okay. All right, our next event will be certainly more entertaining than that one, although I don't know how it could be, but I'm sure it will eclipse the meeting so far with its enjoyment. So we'll introduce Devin Gorman as our speech evaluator number 1.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. Let me go up there. Recording changes things. I'll come here.
Okay.
So Don, thank you for your speech. I've had an opportunity to evaluate a couple of your speeches. You always do a nice job and have a very pleasant tone. And I'll give you a few items that to think about as next time as you're thinking about either a proposal or just in general for a speech, as well as Mary's that did very well. So starting off, one of the things, and it's one of my pet peeves and I try and focus on and mention a lot in speech evaluations, is that strong opening to connect with the crowd. I thought you just kind of started in talking about being an empty nester, and I didn't really feel connected to your speech. Having a young child at home, I'm not an empty nester. I didn't get a connection there. And I was trying to think about some of the ways maybe you could have started that off of. Have you ever had a child or a pet, or I even hearkened like Braveheart, he just would have come up here and shouted freedom, like Mel Gibson, or like, we don't have kids at home anymore. Just kind of something that would have caught our attention and brought it home to us connecting with the crowd. That could have made that very much stronger initially and made me want to pay attention better to the speech. The other item would have just been the structure. I'm not sure how many times this was rehearsed or otherwise, but with conversation, it's kind of hard to structure that and not sound like a robot talking to one another. But at the same time, a few times you kind of look down, and I think we're thinking about the conversation in your head. It seemed a little unrehearsed or unstructured, that you're kind of just making it up as you went along or paraphrasing. So some sort of better structure or rehearsal and with the speech there, I think would have just made that seem a little more rehearsed and less made up on the spot. In terms of items, you did very well. Obviously, the use of the stage was a big portion. That did a nice job. We can see you were here, you were talking like your wife. When you were here, you were you, and your conversation used vocal variety. It was very easy to picture your conversation, the back and forth you had there. So both those items very much made it effective. And sometimes it's not easy to convey speech in a speech or conversation to try and make who's talking now, who's doing this. You did a nice job. We didn't have any problem trying to visualize that or understand who was part of that conversation. So the other item I would mention with your speech is either the speech title or kind of a purpose in there up front too, because I was expecting it more to be about empty nesters or your kids being gone and things you guys were doing rather than kind of your moving or retirement plans was kind of more what I saw the speech as. The title didn't necessarily sync up with my expectations of what the content of your speech was, so maybe just even a different title or something along those lines, or managing that expectation up front so it tells us what your speech was about, just to sync those two things in our heads. But overall, very good. I'm glad you guys stayed in Pittsburgh, and look forward to your next speech as always. Thanks. Kenny, are you prepared to do an evaluation for Dick? Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll take a bit of camera for you then.
Okay, thank you. All right, very good job. By the way, I was very entertained by your speech. I thought that was excellent and well done, so thank you for that. For our speech evaluator, speech number 2, please welcome Kay Onan.
Thank you so much, Ken. Nick, thank you so much for your presentation. What I'm going to share, I intend to eclipse just your presentation to the larger audience because there are some issues that were raised in your presentation that I believe apply to all of us. In as often as we have talked about this and as you have presented, the issue of vocal variety comes up again and again. And I've been doing some work on vocal variety. I want to take this opportunity to lift that issue up for all of us. Great content in terms of what you presented. I'm getting ready for a retreat at church myself, and it's good to be reminded that just getting together to talk about goals doesn't really get there. Why are we talking about these goals? How do they contribute to our mission, to our vision, to where we're going, and to measure all of that? So, great content. But in terms of interest, in terms of vocal variety, I want to offer some thoughts there for all of us. I just finished a unit in Pathways dealing with vocal variety. So this is fresh for me. And there are 4 pieces when it comes to vocal variety. The first is pitch. Pitch has to do with just how high you're speaking or how low you are speaking. And it comes in very handy when you're dealing with character development, bringing some interest to the figures of people that you're dealing with, maybe dialogue in the speech. So that's pitch. The second has to do with pace. Pace. Pace is tempo. You can imagine at some point in a speech speeding up because of excitement or anxiety or worry, or pausing and allowing people to enter into that space, drawing them in, reflect on a question. That's pace. Then we have volume. Volume is just volume. Just how loudly you're speaking or how quietly you're speaking. And it can be used intentionally for vocal variety to emphasize a particular point, whether it's high or very quiet. But always got to make sure that it can be heard. So we've talked about pitch, we've talked about pace, we've talked about volume, and finally, if I can remember the 4th one. Tone. Tone, thank you. We just had this conversation. Tone. Tone is the emotional content behind the words. In other words, Mom is coming home today. Mom is coming home today. Mom is coming home today. So these are the 4 levers of vocal variety. To think about your speech before you give it, decide ahead of time which lever you're going to pull for what purpose. And that will get you a long ways ahead of where you are.
Thank you.
You bet.
I have to say, that's some of the best feedback I've ever had in
Yeah.
my entire life. Thank you, KO.
You
That is incredible. Thank you.
Is that useful?
Oh, the best.
All right, very good. And now for our general evaluator, Miss Nancy. Sorry, I couldn't pronounce your last
Oh,
name.
it's okay. Majority of
I
people
probably
can't.
butchered it enough. I know how to say it. Why does he have?
Yeah, you do. Have to say it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll call upon our evaluators, and I'll start with the timer area.
A timely meeting, but a little bit all over the place at the same time, and that overall, we are doing great on time. Individually, Dawn's speech, the requested allotment was 5 to 7 minutes, and you clocked in at exactly 8. So just maybe pare it down a little bit. Dick's requested time was 13 to 15 minutes. His actual was 9 minutes and 49 seconds. So far and away under in there. For the table topics was fun, a bit of a challenge, but I think that we've got it. Seth was first with a time of 1 minute and 11 seconds, and then Nancy had a time of 1 minute and 33 seconds. I handed over the timer sheet to Nancy, and she timed for me. She got my time was 2 minutes and 8 seconds, so I went a little bit over. And then Ken's, we didn't get a clocked time, so we estimated at about 1 minute. So good there. Devin's evaluation of Dawn's speech clocked in at 2 minutes and 38 seconds, and KO's evaluation was 3 minutes and 18 seconds. So well done.
Can you clarify though, Ariel said yours was 2:08, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's within.
But it's really not over, because you're not disqualified until 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're
So
still.
just for clarification, you did great.
Okay. Seth for the R and grammarian report.
Thank you, Nancy. My grammarian's report is the shortest of the 2 reports. I will credit 3 people, KO, Don, and Ken, with using the word of the day, eclipse. Kudos to those gentlemen. And I only heard one incorrect usage, Don. I think you said transferred, and the word transpired would have been more appropriate in your speech. Those are the only notes I have for grammarian. On counter, we have a lot of ums throughout the group. Don, I only heard 2 double clutches. I, and work, work. Very good. There I go. Ken had 4 ums. Ariel, I counted 6 ums. Dick only 2. Devin only 1 And we had some other miscellaneous parts and other miscellaneous interjections. I heard this repeated a couple of times during your speech. I think you got a little flustered with the handing out the
Yeah.
pieces and
I
said
did.
this.
Yeah.
That's my report. Yes.
Can go ahead and evaluate the meeting, rate the meeting, cut a piece of paper from one of the sheets that you have, and then rate the meeting.
So we go to 10, right?
Yeah, and then which number will we deliver the number?
Thank you. Okay, very well. Let's open the floor now for Happy Bucks time. I will start that portion of the meeting. Who do I give the dollar to? How do we do this?
Not here. Not to it.
Honor me,
Yeah, I
Nancy.
can keep it, I'll keep it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm happy that the sun is finally out.
Yes.
In keeping with our theme today. Okay, who else?
Pass that over. I'll do it, Happy Buck, I'm not trying to do Happy Buck.
Okay.
I know the speech was less prepared than I would like, but I'm happy that KO is giving us some timelines to work on our speeches, because I need to do that. I need a little bit of push sometimes, and I'm happy that KO is doing that for us. It's helping me to get the speeches done. And I'm gonna try to do this speech on Saturday, and I'm gonna take your feedback, and I'm gonna apply it, and try to do the speech then on Saturday for a different purpose. It's gonna be a research and subject speech on that one. I mean, researching my subject as a gifted minister. I do that.
Any other Happy Bucks? Okay, with that, we will come to a close for today. Have I covered all the bases that we're supposed to cover?
Business announcements?
That's your job. I'll turn it over to you. I'll return the control of voting to our president. Mr. Don.
The only one I can think of at the moment is TLI training coming up. I'm looking for it on my phone. It is July,
June 15th.
June 15th, Saturday. So that's actually a week from this coming Saturday. It will be in Mount Vernon from, I think, 10 to 1, somewhere in that range in Mount Vernon. And we need to have 4 officers trained each 6 months to keep our DCP going. So I'm planning to go myself. Ariel, I think you were planning, KO's going. Who else was, and we were gonna try to carpool together, whoever we can get together, all of us can get together. Dick, you're going? So there's 4 of us.
I will be in Chicago and will be on my way back. So I have sent an email to Christy asking, is there another event I can attend in terms of training to make up our 4 points? So I will not be there on the 15th, likely.
Nancy, you're gonna be
Yeah.
going? So we got 4. If the 4 of us go,
I still need
to
training,
get
sure. Yeah.
We
We'll get our
have the
4
4
points.
to get our point on the DCP, so that's kind of the first thing. So the 4 of us, I think that if that's everybody that's going, and it's open to not just officers, anybody can go. Seth, did you have any plans to try to go to that?
I don't have it on my calendar.
Okay.
It might be the first weekend that I'm stationary, so.
Okay, well, it's the 15th, and it's in Mount Vernon, and so if the 4 or 5 of us can go, if you're interested, the more people, the better. It doesn't have to be officers.
They'll serve pork chops, Ken.
So we've got a couple weeks to think about that, do a little carpooling, maybe take 1 or 2 cars, I don't know, and leave here probably. Mount Vernon is what, an hour away from here? So we need to plan, probably need to leave here about 7:30, 8 o'clock. We can meet somewhere, I don't know. Between now and the 15th, let's figure that out. But
Great.
I don't know of any other announcements. Does anybody else have any business announcements?
The score, 6.8.
6.8, we got a 6.8 score, okay.
Here we go. Did you print your certificate?
A theme that eclipses the rest of that eclipses all the other comments?
Really, on
I gave my pen back, I'm not counting it.
But I'm growing from that.
On the analytics right now, we are where we have been for a while, and that is that we can't give ourselves a 10, and we're ending up in about that 6 to 7 range because of the same reason. That is that we love our meeting, but until all of the roles are filled and we're really organized, we just can't give ourselves a higher rating. And I think that's appropriate, right? At some day, we can talk about more analytics, but I could sweep in some other things. And if you walk into our meeting and you have these kind of badges versus the handwritten, all of that, those moments of truth come together to tell a story. So that's in another meeting, another time. That's why our rating, and I think appropriately so, is about where it is, quite frankly.
Okay.
Sure, we have an announcement.
I finished level 1 of my first pathway, so I have a printed off full certificate.
Get up this way we can get a picture, please. Nancy, you're gonna get a picture because I'm video recording, so.
Should we get the president handing this
Sure.
certificate?
Right.
Oh, sure.
All right.
It can be on
So
YouTube.
your first level? Awesome. Well, we'll do this. All right.
Congratulations.
And I think that concludes our meeting. Primary thing being our TLI.
Good to see you again.
See you all.